Priyesh Mehta, Director of Imaginarium. He has an interdisciplinary experience of more than 8 years in the manufacturing industry with hands-on exposure on the investment casting, welding, CNC machining, and all 7 additive manufacturing techniques. He started his career as a metallurgical engineer inspecting wells on cross-country natural gas pipelines in the Middle Eastern region of UAE. He firmly believes that additive manufacturing is moving towards becoming a necessity instead of nicety. Today, Mr. Mehta will speak on creating lighter, shorter, and more efficient aerospace parts using the power of additive manufacturing. Let's welcome Mr. Priyesh.
So, as the gentleman said that digitalization and Industry 4.0 is the next big thing, in aerospace manufacturing. And gentleman before me touched upon regulatory standards. So, we're going to talk a little bit about how, we are already creating lighter and stronger aerospace parts with the power of additive manufacturing. A quick introduction about Imaginarium. We are basically a 3D printing company. We have been in the business for more than 15 years, and we are serving the aerospace, defense, automotive, appliance, medical devices, jewelry, and industrial design industry for that many time. Let's talk a little bit about the difference between 3D printing and additive manufacturing, right? So 3D printing is generally used in a entry or hobby level setting, where additive manufacturing is used in more kind of serious environments, industrial and production settings, right? So just wanted to set some context here. People the OEMs and tier 1, tier 2 suppliers are already using additive manufacturing for production. So I saw a lot of questions about, hey, can we use additive manufacturing for production as well? Yes, of course, if you find the right business case. If you redesign your components for this technology, then it's definitely possible. I'll be also sharing some case studies, which will talk about this. For example, GE Aviation has 23,500 plus, flight quality parts produced till date. The first FAA certification was done in 2015. Then after, that multiple parts were certified. And right now till 2019, the data which we have, there are 20 parts in active certification project. So similar lines, Boeing, Arconic, all of them jumped on the bandwagon to, harness the design freedom and on-demand manufacturing capability offered by additive manufacturing. On your right, you can see, there is like a nice bar graph showing where is the US aerospace market using additive manufacturing. So you see mostly it's structural components, aerostructure, some engine components, some avionics, cabin interiors as well. I'll be showing you a short video where, a European OEM is using this for structural cabin interiors, equipment safety and support, and also insulation components. What have we done? What has Imaginarium done? So we've, as Mr. kind of Joseph highlighted that regulation is key, right? So we've been helping the Indian Air Force design, develop, and manufacture spare parts for various aircrafts and helicopters. The most difficult step for us, was to get our parts certified. So we are very happy to say that close to around 18 parts, manufactured by us in metal 3D printing have been certified by RCMA and CEMILAC. So recently only we got that news. So very excited to see how that goes. We've done a lot of work with the 11 base repair depot in Indian Air Force Nashik base for the MiG-29 UPG aircraft. We've also done, some kind of work with 4 base repair depot in Kanpur, where they gave us a part which was originally manufactured in Russian Ka-14, Ka-16 material. We reverse engineered the material. We did some spectroscopy analysis, found out the equivalent and additive, and manufactured those spare parts for them. We've done a similar activity with 3BRD in Chandigarh for Mi-17 helicopters as well. So these are some of the parts which we are allowed to kind of show. The image which you see here on the left is the door handle for the MiG-29 aircraft. On the left side you see the legacy part, while on the right side you see the 3D printed part. So what we did is we reverse engineered that part using our 3D scanner, created a CAD file, and printed it in ALSI 10mg alloy. What are some potential applications in the aerospace where additive can kind of be very handy? The first one is obviously aircraft parts and systems. As I mentioned earlier, interior parts and secondary structures as well. A lot of companies in Israel and that region are using additive manufacturing for avionics. Also engine components like GE, Safran, Boeing, and even Pratt & Whitney have been using additive manufacturing to produce engine components and Inconel and super alloys. And also some other applications like space and satellite components. We are, very proud to be working on two of the largest space startups in India to help them print, space-like engines directly, and also, defense system components. So this whole journey of the aerospace industry, getting into the additive bandwagon started a couple of years back when GE, identified a business case for a LEAP fuel nozzle where 20 parts were consolidated into one part. There was an inventory reduction of 95%, weight reduction of 25%. I'm sure all of you here will agree how important it is to reduce weight for aerospace, parts to optimize the buy to fly ratio. And also the cost improved by 30%, and the resultant nozzle was 5 times more durable than the previous one. So I come from a welding inspection background, and I can tell you that inspecting these welds, if manufactured using welding or other fabrication conventional techniques, would have been a nightmare for me. I would have kind of scratched my head over and over. How do I take ultrasonic shots or radiography shots on this? And somebody in the audience had also asked me whether it's additive manufacturing is used for mass production. So if you see here, GE is already using this for full scale production, 35 to 40,000 components per year. One more example was for the catalyst engine. If you see, they were planning to test a combustor. They used the power of additive to consolidate 855 parts into 12 parts, which resulted into 5% weight reduction and 20% lower mission fuel burn. So the combustor test schedule was reduced from 12 months to. So additive manufacturing consists of a set of 7 different processes where an energy source or binder is used to join or fuse powder particles together. So the first one is material extrusion, which is used more in a entry and hobby level setting. Second one is material jetting, very similar to 2D printing, but instead of paper, we are going to use powder, nylon powder or other materials. You have binder jetting, where a binder is used to fuse 2 powder particles together, and the process keeps repeating itself layer by layer. You also have vat photopolymerization, where, as the name suggests, an energy source like a laser or a projector beam is used to cure photopolymer to create a solid layer, and it repeats itself. Powder bed fusion is the most successful, commercially successful technology available for aerospace applications. We're going to talk about that in a little bit detail. Directed energy deposition, where you are using a kind of a laser or a electron beam head to deposit material, very, very similar to welding. And also sheet lamination, where it's pretty much like you're laminating paper or metal sheets or sheets of paper together. So this is a quick video which will give you the kind of an overview of what a machine looks like, what a metal machine looks like, and what the process looks like. So this is at the factory of GE Aviation, in Erie, Pennsylvania. So if you see here, the machine is being prepared for production. The build plate is bolted, to the machine. You create a CAD file and slice it into 2D cross sections. A fiber laser is used to draw that cross section on the powder bed, and this process repeats itself layer after layer until the final shape is formed. So GE has been using this technology for production, and they have more than 100 machines in the US. And this is how the part comes out. There's a powder cake. You have to excavate the part from the cake, and you get the resultant part. So as you were talking about Industry 4.0, I've worked on both the sides of the game, designing and manufacturing. And we know that there is always this invisible wall between the designer and manufacturer. So what happens is the designer generates a design, throws it back to the manufacturer. The manufacturer is going to say, hey, boss, the thickness is very low. So you have to, just increase the thickness and give it back to me. This happens again and again, right? So additive manufacturing can reduce or bridge that gap between the designer and manufacturer. Let's see how that is possible, right? For example, this is a bracket. This is a case from General Motors in automotive, where the bracket was manufactured using conventional methods, stamping and welding. And we, as you can see, the original assembly is 8 components, and it's if you see the new part, again designed for this technology, 40% lighter, 20% stronger. And it looks cool as well. For me as a designer, it's very important that the parts should look, good as well. So 8 components were kind of consolidated into one component, 40% lighter, 20% stronger, possible because of additive manufacturing. I'll also show you the location where the seat bracket was, so you might understand that this is additive is not only for fun prototyping or low volume, but it definitely can be used for a large scale production of well if you identify the business case correctly. So see here, this is a newly designed part used as a structural part in a performance car. Also, as I was telling you, a company in Europe, an OEM, is using additive manufacturing to make structural components which go inside the cabin. So you're talking about civil aviation, though. This is a nice example of that. There is a method called generative design, right? Where you just define your design space and loading conditions, and the computer algorithm will automatically generate designs for you. So this design was generated using that technique. You see here, this is the wall between the cabin. The fixed points were given. The FE analysis was done, and it was actually installed in an aircraft. So the goal was to reduce the weight. Complexity is almost free in additive manufacturing. In machining and conventional manufacturing techniques, to print parts like these or structures like these, you would have to pay for additional process time. But in additive manufacturing, it's pretty kind of convenient for us to print these lattice structures over and over again. This is also a nice example where GE had rolled out a challenge for students and engineers to design a jet engine loading bracket for additive. So if you see here, the current bracket was made from titanium alloy, and the challenge was to reduce the weight of the bracket without compromising on the strength to weight ratio. So the resultant bracket designed by a student looks like this, and it was topologically optimized. So what happens is the critical load path is identified, and the design is tailored according to those requirements. The materials which have good weldable characteristics are good candidates for additive manufacturing. We can print in titanium, stainless steel, maraging steel, cobalt chrome, aluminum alloy, and nickel superalloy. So that's it from my side. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions. Thank you.